Welcome to the Kobe Bryant film room. And I kind of wanted to go through the career of Tim Duncan, right? And some of the lowlights of his career. And you might want to say, man, why would you want to go through somebody's lowlights? That's some hating ass shit, right? It's because there's been an agenda to push Tim Duncan into a certain light in order to push Kobe Bryant out of that light, right? So I wanted to go through this because we hear criticism of all the other great players. We hear criticism about Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon. All these people, Shaq, uh, Kareem, all these people get heavy criticism. But you know who doesn't get a lot of criticism for their performances? Tim Duncan. I once heard a fool say if Tim Duncan got 6 championships, we would be comparing him to Michael Jordan. They're not the same caliber of player, y'all. And see, this is what they do. This is really what they do. They want to elevate him because he's this team player, right? Which I understand, right? Because Tim Duncan, to me, in my opinion, is the greatest power forward to ever play the game. Nobody could touch Tim Duncan defensively, right? Other than Olajuwon and Bill Russell, right? But in his generation, defensively, Tim Duncan was over everybody, right? Even Kobe as a defensive player, right? To a certain degree. And I'll get to that later, right? So let's do this, right? And shout out to Tim Duncan because this is not to discredit him in any way, but this is to put history in its proper perspective because these people got the game fucked up and they're lying to you guys, right? So let's do this. Kobe Bryant got ripped apart for his 2004 series against the Pistons, right? Got destroyed. Kobe Bryant in 2004, his field goal percentage was 38.1%, right? Kobe did not play well. He averaged 22 points per game. He did not play well at all, right? You could put that series on Kobe, right? But let's look at what Tim Duncan did against that same Pistons team, right? Now, 38.1% for a guard field goal percentage is not good, right? But let's look at something. Tim Duncan in the 2005 finals gave you 45.5% field goal percentage. Now, is that better than Kobe's 38.1%? Sure. The difference is Kobe's a guard. He's a perimeter player. Tim Duncan is a big man. So for his percentage to be that low, that's not a good percentage, 46%, for a big man. Right? Let's go through these games, y'all. Game 1, 24-17. Good game. Game 2, 18-11. Good game. Game 3, 14-10. Now that 18-11, the previous game, he was around 50%, which that's why you could say good game, even though it was just 18 points. He did his job. Can't blame him for that. Can't knock him for that. The next game, 14-10, on 33.3% field goal percentage. The next game, game 4, 16-16, 16 points, 16 rebounds, on 29.4% field goal percentage. The next game, 26-19, on 46% field goal percentage. The next game, 21-15, on 57.1 field goal percentage. So he played great that game, right? The closeout game, 25-11 on 37% field goal percentage. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, some of those are really good numbers. Yes. But what I wanted to show was the field goal percentage. Because Kobe constantly gets ripped for not being quote unquote efficient. These are by their standards, guys, not mine. I'm just here to show the hypocrisy, right? I'm here to show the hypocrisy. Because even though Tim Duncan won the series, he did not play well. Why do I say that? Because in the 2010 NBA Finals, Kobe being Bryant did not score well from the field, right? His field goal percentage was a little lower, right? 41% from the field in 2010 against what? A great defensive team in the Boston Celtics with 3 Hall of Famers. Matter of fact, damn near 4 if you count Rajon Rondo, right? Rajon Rondo probably should be going into the Hall of Fame. So it could be 4 Hall of Famers potentially, right? Where he's guarding Paul Pierce, he's guarding Ray Allen, and then he has to switch and guard Rondo because Rondo's the head of the beast, y'all. Game 1, 2010 NBA Finals. Kobe dropped 37-6. Game 2, 21-5-6. Game 3, 29-7-4. Game 4, 33-6. Game 5, 38-5. Game 6, 26-11. Game 7, 23-15. Now that game 7 is the what gets pointed out by the media all the time, right? The game 7, 23-15. He shot what, 6 for 18, 6 for 15, or something like that. He shot a bad percentage, right? And what do they say? Pau Gasol was the reason why they won, which is bullshit. Because Kobe led he led the team in scoring with close to 29 points per game on 8 rebounds. Right? It's bullshit. But the reason why I bring up 2010 is to go back to the 2005 series with Duncan. Duncan, last game of the series, dropped 25-11 on 37% field goal percentage. So this is what you call, ladies and gentlemen, hypocrisy. They don't bring up the shortcomings of Duncan, right? Because Duncan is considered Mr. Perfect, Mr. Do everything the right way, Mr. Take less money and build a team around him, right? Even though that lie about Kobe not taking less is not true. Kobe did take less, right? So let's go back to 2004 because I want to make a point here, right? Nobody ever asks, what did Kobe's teammates do in 2004 when they were going against the greatest defensive team of all time, the Detroit Pistons, right? I recall teams in the playoffs, the 2004 playoffs, was averaging 79 points per game against that Pistons team. So nobody was putting up more than 79 points per game against these guys. They were elite. An elite defensive unit, right? So let's go through Kobe's teammates and what they did. And I love Gary Payton, but we got to tell the truth. Gary Payton, 31 minutes, game 1, 31 minutes, 3 points. Game 2, 28 minutes, 2 points. Game 3, 35 minutes, 6 points. Game 4, 43 minutes, 8 points. Game 5, 31 minutes, 2 points. Now, this was a series without Rick Fox and without Karl Malone. So they were missing 2 starters. Karl Malone got injured against the Pacers, I believe. Uh, 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 was it the Pacers? It was some team. Karl Malone got injured, right? Nevertheless, right? Gary Payton for that series averaged 4.2 points per game on 32% field goal percentage. Let's go to Luke Walton. Luke Walton, game 1, 27 minutes, 7 points. Game 2, 19 minutes, 4 points. Game 3, 12 minutes, 0 points. Game 4, 19 minutes, 2 points. Game 5, 20 minutes, 2 points. Derek Fisher, game 1, 25 minutes, 7 points. Game 2, 16 minutes, 9 points. Game 3, 24 minutes, 5 points. Game 4, 19 minutes, 10 points. Or game 5, I'm sorry. 24 minutes, 5 points, 19 minutes, 10 points. Right? So, yeah. Then let's go to Shaq. Let's go to Shaq, y'all. I don't think I have the 5th game on here for Derek Fisher. But anyways, let's move to Shaq, right? So Shaq played it's gonna say they're gonna go back and they're gonna say Shaq played well, right? Shaq was good, but he wasn't great, y'all. And the reason why I say he wasn't great is because Shaq was still a minus, right? Kobe was minus 10, and Shaq was minus 6.2 for the series, right? In the plus minus. Even though Shaq had a high field goal percentage, you gotta remember, Shaq is at the fucking basket, right? Shaq, the first game, 34-11, but 6 turnovers, right? The Pistons defense was designed to push Shaq away from the basket, right? And to stall the offense and to neutralize the offense. He was a minus 8. The second game, plus 16, which was a really good game, 29-7. The third game, minus 19, 14-8. So Shaq had 14 points, 8 rebounds. Kobe didn't play well that game either. So I'm not throwing it all on Shaq, right? Because they both played like shit game 3. The next game, minus 8, 36-20. Shaq became unleashed that game. That was a good game. The next game, Shaq was a minus 12 with 20 points and 8 rebounds. Right? So the Lakers got their ass whooped because they didn't have enough on the floor. Right? But no problem. We take losses on the chin. Kobe didn't win. No excuses. I'm just showing you the different standards that Tim Duncan's held to because he had better teammates. He had Manu Ginobili in that 2005 series. Right? He had Tony Parker. He had great players beside him, y'all. So, what I want to do is also let's go back in time. Let's go forward in time, to 2007. 2007, y'all. Tim Duncan averaged 18.3 points per game and 11.5 rebounds for the series. Now, I know what you're thinking, man, 18-11 ain't bad. 18-12 ain't bad. It's not. The legendary Tim Duncan was a beast, y'all. But the problem is, it wasn't good, right? He had 45% field goal percentage as a big man, y'all. First game, Tim Duncan played incredible. 24 points, 13 rebounds, 5 blocks. He was a man possessed. The second game, 23, 9, and 8. 8 assists, y'all, from a power forward. That's incredible. He was busting people's ass. The problem is when you get to the third game, 14 points, 9 rebounds. The fourth game, the closeout game, 12 points, 15 rebounds. But 6 turnovers, y'all. Now, ask yourself, when Kobe scored 12 points, if Kobe had a bad game and he scored 12 points, the Lakers would lose. The Lakers would lose. Right? But you got a guy in Tony Parker who's giving you close to 25, giving you about 25 points, right? on 56%, 57% field goal percentage. Right? When you got a guy beside you who could do that. Now, I know what you guys are going to go to. What about when he played with Shaq and he averaged 15 against Indiana? You're right. Kobe did average 15 against Indiana. But you also forget that Kobe Bryant was purposely injured by Jalen Rose, and he had 2 points in the game, and that killed his average. And Kobe Bryant not only came back and bust their ass, right? He dominated for when he was on the court. When he played well when he was on the court. He got injured, y'all. He wasn't 100%. If you go back, that's not an excuse, y'all. If you go back and you rewind the tape, Kobe wasn't even supposed to be playing in that series. But we all know Kobe Bryant is all-time tough, right? So Tim Duncan completely healthy, 12 points, 15 rebounds in his prime, y'all. Right? Or was he? Or was he on the other side? He was still in his prime, but he was going downward. Okay, so Tony Parker wins the Finals MVP because he was the best player on the court. Right? For both teams in that series. To you LeBron fans out there. I gotta take a shot at them niggas. Them niggas are sensitive. I love it. But, you know, shout out to LeBron James, man, for being legendary. But let's get back to it. Right? So, Tim Duncan was able to win a series averaging 18 points. Right? Even with Shaq, Kobe was putting up 28 points per game, y'all, in those finals runs. I mean, in those championship runs. Right? So Kobe was holding his end of the deal. Even though Shaq was a monster, Kobe was closing out those games. He had always been the closer for the Lakers from day one. Even when Eddie Jones and Nick Van Exel, 2 All-Stars, were on the team, they gave the ball to a young Kobe Bryant to try and beat Utah. So he always had closing responsibility. Right? Tim Duncan was not relied on to close out games like that. It was mostly Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili who were responsible for closing out those games. And later on, Kawhi Leonard. Let's go to the 2014 season, y'all. 2014 season. Right? So, Tim Duncan, it wasn't even close, by the way. Like, the series against Miami was not close. It was an ass whooping, right? We all agree. We all saw it. We all watched it. So, Kawhi gives you 18 and 6 on 61% field goal percentage. And he's also shutting down LeBron James, right? And I know what you guys don't point to the numbers, but Kawhi Leonard did a great job on LeBron. When Kawhi guarded LeBron, LeBron did not play well, right? LeBron tended to struggle. Matter of fact, there's a clip of LeBron actually cursing to himself when Kawhi Leonard checks back in the game, right? So, Duncan, in older Tim Duncan, y'all, played 5 games, gave you 15.4 points per game and 10 rebounds in the most lopsided finals in NBA history, right? First game, 21 and 10. Tim Duncan played good. Second game, 18 and 15. Tim Duncan played well. The third game, 14 and 6. The fourth game, 10 and 11. And the fifth game, 14 and 8. Now, Tim Duncan had a series where he averaged 15 points and 10 rebounds. Right? And he wasn't injured. He was just older, y'all. Tim Duncan's greatness was in the early 2000s. And I'm talking about early 2000s. But by 2008, Tony Parker had became the best player on the team. Tony Parker was in MVP conversation. Tony Parker was damn near leading the league in scoring. Tony Parker was unstoppable driving the basketball. Unstoppable. One of the best finishers at the basket of all time for a guard. Tony Parker was amazing. He was unstoppable. His first step was quick. Right? People forget these things about the San Antonio Spurs. You had to be alive during that time, or you had to be really focused on the game of basketball during that time to understand what was taking place in San Antonio. Tony Parker was a monster. You had Danny Green, who was playing well, who could have won Finals MVP in 2013 had they won. You had Kawhi Leonard, lockdown defender, defensive player of the year. You had Manu Ginobili, six-man, incredible six-man, right? Duncan was not out there by himself. When he won these championships, he wasn't the best player on the team. So there's this revisionist history about Tim Duncan's career, right? And that's what I'm here for, to correct history. 1999 lockout season. Tim Duncan, David Robinson, the Twin Towers, one of the greatest defensive units of all time, blocking everybody's shit, y'all. No doubt about it. They beat a Knicks team without Patrick Ewing. Right? It was a foregone conclusion. Once Patrick Ewing went down, it was a foregone conclusion. They had to put a young Marcus Camby out there to defend against the Twin Towers. Right? So, this is what I'm talking about, y'all. I'm talking about Tim Duncan's career. And even though Tim Duncan was considered a great defensive player, 15 defensive teams, right? To Kobe's 12. Where Kobe makes up for it is on the offensive side of the ball. Putting up 30 plus, right? Averaging 28, the highest scoring total for the 2000s. Meanwhile, playing monster defense on the perimeter. The perimeter had the best players in the league. From LeBron to T-Mac to Allen Iverson. Right? Now, the forward spot wasn't shabby either. But the perimeter had the best players in the world. The Jason Kidds. Right? The Vince Carters. The Ray Allens. Right? We had all these guys on the perimeter that Kobe had to guard. The Rondos. The Chris Pauls. Right? The Carmelo Anthonys. Right? He had to guard these players on the perimeter. The best players in the league played on the wing position, at the wing. Right? So think about that when we talk about defensively. Right? And you can still give the edge to Duncan. Duncan was that great defensively. But Kobe was no slouch either. And Kobe did something that wasn't done since Michael Jordan. Right? Putting up 35 a game. Right? Hasn't been done since the 90s. Right? Making defensive first team and leading the league in scoring at the same time. You know how difficult that shit is? Hasn't been done since Michael Jordan, y'all. There's a reason why people compare Kobe Bryant to Michael Jordan. Right? So, I wanted to correct this stuff about Tim Duncan. I wanted to kind of expose certain things and why a certain series is not highlighted about Duncan's career. The truth is not being told. For somebody to sit there and say we would be comparing Tim Duncan to Michael Jordan because he had 6 championships is fucking bullshit. Right? He literally had other guys who were able to step up so he wouldn't have to do as much. Because the Spurs offense was it was an equal opportunity offense. It was about getting everybody had looks. Right? It was a true team effort. And by giving Tim Duncan all of this credit, you're taking away from the Hall of Famers that he played with. When you talk about the record that the Spurs had, you're taking away from Manu Ginobili. You're taking away from Tony Parker. And you're just giving it to Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan has never played without a Hall of Fame player on his team. So I want you to think about this, right? Kobe Bryant, the years he didn't make the playoffs, the 3 years, they like to talk about that shit in the media every single fucking day. How Kobe Bryant didn't make the playoffs. But who did he have? A young Caron Butler, a young Lamar Odom, who only made like one playoff series, Smush Parker, Chucky Atkins, Luke Walton, a Chris Mims that wasn't even good enough to play on the Cavs, to start on the Cavs, and that's how they got LeBron James, because Chris Mims was part of one of the worst teams in the NBA, right? He's starting for the Lakers. Yeah, Brian Cook, who was a streak shooter, who was a three-point shooter. You had Radmanovich, all he could do was shoot threes and nothing else. Kwame Brown was just a role player, but he was starting getting heavy minutes, right? And so when we're talking about this shit, bro, what did people expect Kobe to do in the most stacked conference of all time? Beat Phoenix by himself, where he averaged 40, right? When he started giving the ball to his teammates, they lost. He probably should have kept gunning it, but he thought he could beat them by getting people involved. Phil Jackson wanted Kobe to get people involved, right? So unfortunately, they didn't win that series, right? But I wanted to get into this because there's been a way to elevate Tim Duncan and spotlight him as if he's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And that's not right. That's not right, y'all. They're doing this, right, the same way they're using Kareem against Jordan to separate LeBron from Jordan. They're trying to do with Kobe and Duncan, right? They're trying to put Duncan in front of Kobe, even though Kobe was the best player in the 2000s. Hands down, he was more consistent all throughout all those years as a basketball player. Absolutely, he absolutely was. And if you were alive during that time and you watched it, you know that. So, that's basically my video on Mr. Tim Duncan. He, like I said, not taking no credit away from him. Greatest power forward of all time, in my opinion. An absolute monster, savage, one of the greatest defenders ever. The bank shot was pure. The post game was pure. The defense and mentality was fantastic, amazing, right? Amazing basketball player. Could go toe to toe with anybody, right? Kobe, Shaq, whoever gave people the business, right? Was a killer on the court. His competitive drive is underrated. Tim Duncan was highly competitive. He just didn't show it like the other, like the killers that we know, like the Kobe's, the Mikes. Tim Duncan was a monster, y'all. But is he better than Hakeem Olajuwon? No. Is he better than Michael Jordan? No. Is he better than Larry Bird? No. Is he better than Magic Johnson? No. Right? Is he better than Kobe Bryant? No. So we have to do things in proper perspective. Now, if you believe Tim Duncan is better than those guys, I don't know what to say. It's your opinion, right? But to me, it's a bad opinion, right? And you're not looking at everything in its totality, right? Kobe clearly, even if you go back to 2003 where Duncan was awesome, Kobe was clearly right next to him, if not better, in 2003. Go back and watch, y'all, right? This is not hellified cap on me, on my end. So understand that there's a narrative, an attempt to destroy and tarnish Kobe's legacy. I exposed that in the other videos. And now they're using Mr. Tim Duncan to do it. And I'm not going to stand for this shit no more. This is Kobe Bryant Film Room, and I'll holler.